Well, good Wednesday morning, everyone. Welcome to Wisdom Wednesday. I hope you're ready to dive in and seek wisdom and turn away from foolishness. As I said in the preview, we are in difficult times, and maybe you are fed up with the news, you're fed up with social media, you're fed up with quote unquote journalism, which just seems to be dead. You're frustrated with politics. You're frustrated in general. You're frustrated with COVID. I am with you. Never has there been a time that I can think of. Maybe at 9/11, Laura and I were living in New York on 9/11. I was a college senior. She was a junior. We had just been newly married. We moved in. I mean, things were so full of hope in life. We had been near the Twin Towers not too far before then, and wow, that was a time, I think, in our country where it was pretty bad. But probably not since then has there been a time like this. And even then, people really rallied together. I mean, there was unity post 9/11 like never before, at least in my lifetime. Now things are so divided. Now is the time we really need to lean in and seek wisdom and turn away from foolishness. And that's what we're doing. We're digging into Proverbs. Proverb of the day today is Wednesday, January 13th. We are digging into Proverbs 13. Remember, we close our time with prayer. So if there's anything I can be praying for you about specifically, drop that down in a comment, send a message if you'd like to keep that private. Hey, good morning, Ross and Dell. So excited to see you. It was great to have that prayer walk yesterday. Thoroughly enjoyed it. Welcome to everyone who is here. Now, remember the two main purposes of the book of Proverbs: to give moral skillfulness. And if there's a time we need moral skillfulness, especially as it pertains to our words and how we use our words. We're going to hear a lot about that in the book of Proverbs. Not only moral skillfulness, but mental discernment. That is so important, especially in the midst of this cancel culture. I was so angry and upset, and I think some of it is righteous indignation. But yesterday, I am so upset with this cancel culture right now, like as if I have to write off every person in my life if they align themselves with fill in the blank. Right now, it's Donald Trump. Man, if you voted for Donald Trump, if you supported him, which 74 million people in this country did, then you are part of that riot and you must be written off. Look at Harvard University, written off all Republicans. I mean, if you supported or voted for Donald Trump for any reason, you are like the devil. My friends, where is our country going? We cannot even disagree. Now, I disagree with a lot of things that the president has said, some things that he's done. I disagree with many of the things that President-elect Biden has said and done. But if we cannot have some sort of civil discourse, and my friends, as Christians, not civility is not good enough. We must have genuine love for those that we disagree with, for our enemies. That is the way of Jesus. That's what this daily devotion is for. If you're looking for something else, this is the wrong place. We are talking about the words of Jesus, the word of God, and allowing wisdom to guide our thoughts and actions. So with that in mind, we are going to dig into Proverbs number 13. Proverbs 13:1. We're going to go through 1 to 6 today. I hope that this is not only an encouragement to you today as you navigate some difficult waters and respond to some things that are very, very difficult going on right now, but I also hope that this will be practical help to you in this day. All right, Proverbs 13:1. A wise son, a wise daughter, a wise son heeds or listens to, obeys. I'm going to be quoting this to my kids today. You can guarantee that. A wise son heeds his father's instruction, but a mocker. What is a mocker? Is a scoffer. A mocker is the worst kind of fool. And we are seeing mockers and fools abound right now on social media, on the news. I mean, good Lord, newscasting has become a mockery itself. Journalism is just about dead. I mean, On just about any side. There's very, very little unbiased news. There's very little news that gives you both sides. I encourage you at least listen to the news that is coming from both sides, although it's pretty bad all over. But a scoffer is the worst kind of fool. No respect for authority. Despises those who worship God. Unteachable, know-it-all, but a mocker does not respond to rebukes. The worst kind of fool. That is the kind of person to avoid. It's not that we hate that person. It's not that we, as far as an associate, you don't want to have a best friend who is a scoffer. You don't want to have a business associate who is a scoffer. You don't want to marry a scoffer. You don't want your kids hanging around with scoffers. 2 Timothy 3, verses 1-5. Listen to these words in light of what we're seeing right now in the culture. 2 Timothy 3, 1-5. But the last one off, hang in there with me. I don't know what's going on, but hopefully everything is okay. You're still able to hear me. 2nd century, 3rd, 10th, 15th. We have been in the last days for 2,000 years. Nothing that we're seeing is a sign that Jesus is coming sooner, other than the fact that obviously it's 2,000 years since we're 2,000 years closer. It could be tomorrow. It could be another 1,000 years. Who knows? Times have been bad. Times have been good. Times have been bad. Times have been good. We're in bad times right now. There will be terrible times in the last days. People will be lovers of themselves. Well, clearly we see that. They saw it back then too. Lovers of money, boastful, proud, abusive. Look at this. Disobedient to their parents. Is that not marking our culture? I mean, if you are a brainwashed child in high school, you are hearing teachers say that if your parents supported Donald Trump, move away from them, report them, write them off, cancel your parents if they voted for the wrong person. Good Lord, are we in the last times or not? Look at this. Ungrateful, unholy, without love, unforgiving, slanderous, without self-control, brutal, not lovers of good, treacherous, rash, conceited, lovers of pleasure rather than lovers of God. Notice this. Boy, don't both sides embody this. Having a form of godliness, but denying its power. Yeah, there's some spiritual higher being out there, but not Jesus, who was claimed to be risen from the dead. Notice Timothy. Paul says, Timothy, have nothing to do with such people. Have nothing to do with such people. Let's continue on. Proverbs 13:2. From the fruit of their lips, people enjoy good things, but the unfaithful have an appetite for violence. Again, let's be balanced. We saw this last summer in the burning down of cities and looting. Anyone who can possibly support that. I've talked to Christians. I've said this over and over again. I've talked to Christians who said that was legitimate. Boggles my mind how a Christian, Jesus-following person could support that. It boggles my mind how a Jesus-following person could support what we saw at the Capitol last week. Now, the genesis of it, what motivated it, who were the people that were really stoking the fires on the ground. Be careful what you're listening to. And by the way, there have been numerous people connected to Antifa who have been arrested, who were there stoking the fires. By the way, that doesn't mean it was all Antifa. Here's my point. Here's my take on it. Last summer, all the riots and looting and everything we saw was not the majority of people who would support Black Lives Matter. Even the Black Lives Matter movement, which I do not support. I support Black Lives. Yes, Black Lives Matter. Of course they do. I can say it, no problem saying it. The organization, the movement, totally disagree with that and many of the things that it stands for. But the majority of those people are good people, well-intended people. The Antifa people, the people that are leading that movement, horrible. I hope that makes sense. I don't want to call the wrong people horrible people. The people who are stoking the violence, Putting pallets of bricks in places, people who did that, that was a minority of that group. Just like last week at the Capitol, there was a couple 100,000 people, and there were a couple hundred agitators, people who did heinous acts, horrible things, deplorable things. That doesn't represent the majority of people who elected Donald Trump, who voted for Donald Trump. That does not represent them any more than Antifa represents Black Lives Matter people or Democrats or whatever you want to say. Let's be fair in this. The fruit of their lips enjoy good things, but the unfaithful have an appetite for violence, no matter what side you're on. The wicked desire what does not belong to them. And that's the frustration that's my frustration as I look over this last year. This should be a free country. If you work hard, you can achieve anything, no matter what your skin color is. I mean, have we not seen, every single one of us has seen it over and over and over again. All of us come from immigrants one way or another. Man, in these last 20 years, we've seen incredible advancement in opportunities. You work hard, man. But if you don't, and if you're not a righteous person filled with integrity, you will not reap the benefits and the reward of righteousness. That means in moral rectitude, moral righteousness. That means families that are nuclear. That means a mom and a dad having kids who are married. And we could go on, right? Verse 3, let's move it on. Verse 3, those who guard their lips preserve their lives, but those who speak rashly will come to ruin. This is a careless talker. Someone who speaks rashly, someone who talks too much. This is a fool who ultimately comes to ruin. How many fools are we seeing on TV right now? How many fools on social media? How many fools on Twitter and Facebook? People who are just regurgitating things they don't even know about. I mean, I'm getting things even from quote unquote conservative Christians who I'm just appalled by. I am unsubscribing to things. I am unfollowing. I am muting voices more than I ever have. And I don't mean in the cancel culture kind of way. I'm canceling the cancel culture, if that makes sense. Now, this can be a person who on one hand is too transparent. Maybe you've been around that person. That's hard to do, but someone who's unnecessarily too open about stuff, or someone who is, verbose, who speaks rashly. Those who speak rashly will come to ruin. My friends, you do not have to speak out about everything that happens immediately. Reject that. Be wise, careful with your words, cautious, reserved. This has been an issue in my life, certainly early on in my ministry, and even, in recent years. And sometimes I struggle as a pastor. How much do I say? How much do I? I'm much freer today. I am much more secure in the fact that I do not have to come out and say something rashly. I do not have to come out and I don't have to have a knee-jerk reaction to everything that we see. No. And I'm coming on here almost every single day, giving some kind of feedback and dialogue about how I feel about things. So if you're here every day, you kind of know how I feel about things. Let's move on. A couple more verses. Hang in there. Verse 4, a sluggard's appetite. By the way, don't be a sluggard. And I know you're not, because you're here early with me. A sluggard's appetite, a sluggard's craving and desire is never filled, but the desire of the diligent are fully satisfied. I'm trying to teach my boys, even when you don't have to get up early, don't sleep till 10 or 11, and I let them do it to some degree. One of my sons more than others. Some of them are a little more industrious than others, but get up and learn something. Get up and do something productive. Get up and work out, read, make yourself better, do something good. Don't be lazy. Trying to teach them that some days are easier than others. One commentator said this. It's a little bit too long to put in the comment, but listen to this. This was on Delitzsch's commentary on Proverbs. Oh, I love it. Listen to this. The slothful wishes and dreams of prosperity and abundance, but his desire remains unsatisfied, since the object is not gained, but only lost by doing nothing. The industrious gain, and that richly, what the slothful wishes for, but only in vain. Man, I'm a dreamer. I'm very, very thankful that, of my negative traits and of my shortcomings, laziness is not one of them. Sometimes, actually last year, my word of the year last year was rest, because I have a hard time stopping. I'm always thinking of something to do. Whether it's in the ministry, what can I do? Who can I talk to? Who can I meet with? Meeting with people all the time in the community or in my business, constantly wanting to press things forward, do something more, do something new, leaning into the future. And I don't rest enough. So last year, my word was rest. This year, I haven't kind of publicly written this anywhere yet, but my word of this year is simplify. Sometimes we just have too many things going on. Now, some people can, carry a heavier load than others, but that doesn't mean it's healthy to have too much complexity. We're applying that in our home. We are decluttering. We are getting rid of so many things in our home just to simplify. Life's too complicated, and it's too precious, and there's too many important things. We don't want to let lesser things take away the attention that we should have on the important things. All right, we're almost done. 5 and 6, verses 5 and 6. The righteous hate or reject what is false. Don't reject what is true. Don't call what is good evil and what is evil good. We're seeing that. I mean, you hear me saying that all the time. Our school system, education, the government is filled with examples of calling good evil and evil good. If you're a Christian, if you say Jesus is the only way, no. How bigoted can you be? If you talk about supporting traditional marriage, if you support pro-life, if you call abortion evil and wicked, look out. I mean, handful of examples. We go on and on and on, social issues. The righteous hate what is false. They reject what is false, but the wicked make themselves a stench. Now, they only make themselves a stench to the righteous and bring shame on themselves. They act disgracefully. Now, when a bunch of people are acting disgracefully together, it's not disgraceful among them, but to the godly, to the righteous, before the Lord, to the nose of Jesus, it's a stench. And I don't want to live that way. I want my life to be a sweet, savoring smell and offering before the Lord and to God's people. And we know Paul says that that's a stench to the world. Now, finally, let's wrap it up with this verse that I think ties things together quite well. Verse 6, righteousness guards. I believe, I didn't look it up, but I think it's the word natsar, to guard, like a machine gun, armed guard. Righteousness guards the person of integrity, the person who lives above reproach. And by the way, living above reproach is God's standard. That doesn't mean we have to be perfect. That doesn't mean all of our thoughts and actions are always righteous, but we are always striving to the way that's aligned with God's way, the way of Jesus. But wickedness overthrows the sinner. Eventually, at one point or another, cheating in school, yeah, you might get away with it. You might get away with it for a while, but it will catch up. You might get away with it through school. I certainly did. I cheated all the time when I was in high school. And you know what? Then when I got to college on this engineering scholarship in which I had to take 36 credits, I had to take 18 hours of class and 18 hours of lab, it crushed me. It crushed me because I wasn't a person of integrity. I didn't really know what I purported to know. And I was overthrown. And I had wickedness in me. Thank God it was not too long, maybe a year and a half after that Jesus saved me and righted the ship in my life. And I haven't been full of righteousness since, but my ship has been sailing toward the righteous and people of integrity. One who lives with integrity will be safe from the consequences of sin. I was not safe because I didn't have integrity. And since I've turned away from that, I'm secure. And you can be and probably are too. That's why you're here. Righteousness and wickedness are two paths or courses in life. Each one leads to different destinations. Now, we're going to pray, and let's wrap it up. Hey, good morning, Alfredo, Danielle. I'm so glad that you are all here with me. Thank you for hanging in there with me. Now, I assume since you're here, you are on the path of righteousness. However, we must be very careful not to associate ourselves too closely with wickedness, whether that's entertainment, movies, music, media. I talk about this with my sons, and there's a little bit of concern because I don't know everything that they're listening to. But I have a feeling that there's some things that, maybe one of them in particular is listening to where there's some unrighteousness in there. And I talk to him all the time and address that. Close associates. We shouldn't join in as a business associate with someone who's wicked. We shouldn't be partners with someone who's wicked. We should not, of course, marry someone who's on the path of unrighteousness. Now, that doesn't mean if you get saved, if you come to know Jesus and you're in that relationship, it doesn't mean that you leave them. That's a whole nother topic for another day. We are the sum total of the 5 people that we spend the most time with. Are those 5 people influencing you toward righteousness and integrity? I hope they are. I'm honored to be one of those voices, and I have many of those voices in my life too. So take some time this morning to evaluate your influences. Really think about it. If there's something influencing you away from integrity or righteousness, get rid of it. Run away from it. Walk away from it. And allow righteousness to guard and protect you. My friends, let's be people who are known as wisdom seekers, turning away from foolishness. All right, let's close with a prayer with that in mind. Heavenly Father, sometimes what we read in your word is easy to understand, but difficult to accept. And there are some things in there that are difficult to understand. But a lot of these proverbs, a lot of this wisdom is not hard to understand, but sometimes it really gets personal and it begins to judge us, and it begins to speak really against some of the ways that we're living. And I pray that we would be open to that. I pray that we would accept discipline, we would accept rebuke, we would accept correction, and we would willingly submit ourselves to being corrected by your word, by your spirit, and by your people. And help our church, help us to be a people who doesn't, we don't harshly judge people. We don't wrongly speak against people. We don't get in one another's faces with any wrong motivation, but we love one another. We love one another enough to speak the truth. And we welcome admonishment, and it's not easy. So I pray that this morning and throughout this day, we would evaluate the voices in our life, the influences in our life. And if there's any influence that doesn't lead us to righteousness and integrity, help us to seriously consider walking away from that influence and allowing our minds and our hearts to be influenced by good, by righteousness, and people and voices of integrity. I pray for the unspoken requests. My brothers and sisters this morning, help us, Lord, to be wisdom seekers, to walk in wisdom today. And I pray for special needs to be met. And God, all the things that trouble and burden us today, Lord, may we not carry those burdens ourselves, but lift them over to you. And also we would help carry them with one another. Thank you for hearing our prayers. We love you, Lord Jesus, and it is in your name that we pray. Me as well. Have a great rest of your day. I can't wait to see you tomorrow morning, 7 o'clock. Lord willing, we'll see you then.